when we are really looking at how to design the space, we're not asking what rooms do you need, we're asking what do you do, and then the rooms just become the outcome instead of the process.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast. I'm your host today. My name is Brett Gilliland. Every episode, my team and I have the wonderful privilege of interviewing other business owners who are doing the thing. They've figured out how to get clients, they figured out how to serve clients, they're starting to build the team, their businesses are growing, and they have great lessons to share in their growth journey. And they have things that they're still dealing with that we get to talk about on this show. So this is real business owners talking about real lessons learned and real challenges. And it's a great privilege for us to be meeting with these great business owners every episode. So let me introduce today's guest. Her name is Lisa Sauvé. Lisa is the founder at Synecdoche. You can find synecdoche.design as the website, and I'm going to have to spell that for you. Synecdoche. Synecdoche. And yes, I did have to practice before we hit record. But Lisa is the founder of Synecdoche, and they are an interdisciplinary creative architecture studio, which is a very it's probably not really fancy, but for me, an uneducated me, I'm like, what is that? And Lisa will talk about it here in just a second. But let me just tell you this: they go well beyond just a run-of-the-mill architecture type of firm. They are thinking about the whole human experience and what you want to create in that space. And I've seen amazing pictures of the kind of work that they do. And again, it's well beyond the bricks and mortar, the walls, the lighting fixtures. Really cool stuff that they do. So with that, welcome, Lisa, to the show. Thank you for taking some of your valuable time to be with us.
Thanks for having me, Brett. Excited to unpack some things today and learn a bit about, I think, myself and business overall.
All right, wonderful. Well, tell everybody, give a little bit more context to what I did. Hopefully, I didn't do too bad introducing your business, but tell us about Synecdoche, maybe how you got started, how you want people to picture what you guys are doing in their minds.
Yeah, Synecdoche, more than an architecture studio. So I think it's easier to understand what an architect might do in the day. Hollywood does it decently well. We wear black and we carry around blueprints and all of these things. Um, but from a founder side, what I've really experienced working with clients is when we're building out a space, we're typically working with owners to build the business simultaneously. So we're always engaged in things like real estate development, team growth, branding and messaging exercises. And so it goes beyond that physical space design. And so as interdisciplinary designers, we really have to have a skill set beyond building science. And we have to have skills in fabrication and material detailing, but also in business development and things like that. And so when we are really looking at how to design a space, we're not asking what rooms do you need, we're asking what do you do, and then the rooms just become the outcome instead of the process.
Super fascinating. I bet you have to go around explaining to people the full breadth of expertise that you guys have and how you can help from. I mean, I honestly I wouldn't have put the building piece together with the business development or the branding, or that interdisciplinary is a lot broader than I had imagined. So thank you for sharing that. It might help us all to get a more concrete example of a real project or a real engagement, maybe one that you guys are especially proud of or something.
Yeah, so I think a good example that we're really deeply engaged in would be something like Ivy Salon, which is a hair salon, a gender neutral hair salon that we designed. But at the same time, understanding this as a local small business, we actually exchanged our design services for equity because the amount of cash up front available to design out a space is usually pretty minimal, but we believe that design is going to help the bottom line. And so we became investors and limited partners into the project. At the same time, our skill set includes having a fabrication shop. So we custom built all the salon stations in our fabrication shop because it was a corner storefront. And so most of the space is actually windows, and when you want salon stations with mirrors and things, we had to create a whole floating station situation. So we
Mm,
custom built these salon stations to address the specific needs between the experience we were creating and the specific space that we had leased out. So became business owners, became fabricators, were the architects, developed the brand all at once within a project, but started from the idea that this is a service and a business in space, and coming from the idea that we all experience space, but it has a powerful impact in
yeah.
what it can do for people.
Cool example. Okay. Well, I'll have to ask you off air how your investment is going there with the salons. As a business owner there, or part owner, that's cool. Okay. So Lisa, as you've launched this thing, Synecdoche is going now. It's a thing. Early on, it was just maybe a dream, an idea, and you started to get to work, and it was you and I don't know, maybe one or two others, but now you've
Mhm.
got a team and it's working and it's going. You've learned some lessons along the way. Rather than go all the way back to the starting point, I'd love to fast forward to, or I guess it's still rewind now from where you are now, but think back to that. You're crossing over that $1 million mark. You've got a team. What are some key lessons that you learned in that transition from gritty, scrappy founder to more capable business building leader? Right, that's a
Yeah.
transition. So, what are some key lessons that you've learned that might be helpful to others who are going through similar things?
Yeah, I think, the main one, I'm a 100% bootstrap business, so I've taken, like, the Goldman Sachs, 10,000 Small Businesses course, and
Yeah.
they try to tell you about the invested capital and then where you're at on your return, but when you put
Yes.
$0 in the starting formula, it kind of errors out the entire spreadsheet, in terms of, where you really leveraged starting a business, and I think from that, for a very long time, I've been very cash conscious
Mm,
about how to run this business, really managing from a cash flow and burn rate maybe perspective versus a strategic investment perspective. And I think similar to the Ivy example I gave, that's what we're really starting to learn to lean into more, because not only does it stabilize in the long term business growth, but it also helps show where your clients and your team what you really believe in, putting your money where your mouth is, right? Putting skin in the game, which makes I think other people really dig in with you to move forward faster. And so I think that's where not only investing in businesses, but now we've also invested in real estate, has been part of it. And that goes into this connection, maybe too, of beyond thinking about how small our architecture industry and scope is, which is typically, designing the space, preparing drawings for construction. We started expanding back out to the original idea of the architect, which was more master builder, right?
mm.
The and so that's where we're fabricating and participating in all of these kind of fringe benefits of our profession.
Well, I thinking about what you said early on about the difference between strategic investor and somebody who's sort of managing to cash, right? Managing
Hmm.
to cash flow and making sure that we've got the runway we need to keep going. Um, it's a different mindset, right? Like, and I'm familiar with Goldman Sachs 10,000 small businesses effort, and I think it's amazing. But they definitely come from a place of, let us be your financing partner, right?
Hmm.
Um, so that there's a way of thinking about it there that they bring to that conversation. But I have seen when business owners have money available to invest, it does change the way that they think about growing their business. And when they're completely bootstrapped or they don't have enough, because I think you can be bootstrapped and still have money to invest. Just
Hmm.
depends on how profitable you run that business and how fast that money's flowing through your business. But I think that that mindset of how can I be investing instead of always coming from the place of preserving cash, that's a different space. But my hats off to you and all of us out there who bootstrapped. There's a sense of pride doing that, right? It's like I didn't take anybody else's money. I had to make this work. Um, that's what I've done as well with my business, and
Mhm.
it's rewarding. There's something about owning the whole thing and making it work, right? Having it deserve to be in the game still by how you run it. So that's
Well,
great.
I think the other piece too, especially with the service industry, is you're well, you could sell your architecture firm. Like a lot of service industries, they don't have a lot of baked in value and
Mhm.
it's not as scalable. And so some of our work has been definitely in like designing tech offices where you can have 100 developers reach 100 million clients.
Right.
That ratio isn't as comparable in terms of how many architects you need in the office to design how many square feet of building
True.
space.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where really not being fixed in how your industry operates. And I think that's for us a way to say, what are adjacent pieces that our industry has typically shied away from that we can roll back into our scope to hopefully get some scalability that isn't so much the typical ratio of labor, but maybe not the insane ratios of
Right.
developing it.
Right. Because I believe there is a way for you guys to scale. We work with professional services that scale, but it's different. The reach, we're not scaling to serve tens of thousands or more. We're scaling to serve, maybe dozens or hundreds or something. But it does require you to think through what are those ratios that have to be in place? How can I afford to scale? Um, I was talking earlier today with somebody about revenue per employee as a key metric,
Hmm.
right? It's like,
Yep.
how do we make sure that we're not we're not outgrowing our revenue growth, right, from an expense standpoint. Anyway, all the fun stuff that you've been juggling as a business owner. Great lessons learned. Anything else you would point to in your journey as you've been growing the business that would be helpful to another business owner?
I mean, I think it's like measuring your outcomes, right? So I think working in the business and things like key revenue or effective multipliers, that's always good to see how fine tuned your internal business is, but where you map the impact externally, where your outputs actually create impact. Because that was for us the flipping point of like, we can make our business as efficient as possible, but how we promote our value and our basically price tag is by mapping those externals. And for us, it was clients saying, hey, we're doing better than we thought we would in our low and high projections. And we're like, we're going to take some credit for that. Like,
Yeah.
we made the space so enjoyable. You had clients coming more often, filling the space. Like, we believe that design had an impact on that bottom line. And so, really taking some measurements and surveying your outputs too, I think is a big metric to try to track.
Well, and anybody who's listened to the episodes where I'm the interviewer, where I'm the host, they would know that what you're doing to impact client experience, I bet has an equal level of impact, if not more, on the team experience, right? The team member experience, which leads to higher levels of engagement, productivity, retention, all those things that we're looking for as we build amazing teams. So, really cool what you're doing. I love how you're trying to get outside of just the internal efficiency measure, the internal productivity or effectiveness measures, and how much impact are we having externally.
Hmm.
That's great. Good for you. All right. So, Lisa, we know that you have learned lots of great lessons and that the ongoing growth realities still are smacking us in the face all the time. So, there's a never ending list of things to improve or work on as you're working to grow your business. What's a challenge or two that we could unpack together today and try to give you some value back for spending your time with us?
Yeah. So I am starting to spend more time out of the office, stretching myself between a few different activities. So
Okay.
that means I've started teaching at U of M, so University of Michigan, uh, a course every semester. So that means not only am I working outside of the business in business development and things, I'm working kind of adjacent in my own
Mm.
kind of trajectory at the same time. And so it means that internally I need to figure out how to be even more effective with 20 hours a week to not only make sure the business is operating well, but I'm leading a vision where it doesn't feel like I'm leaving the vision
Yeah.
because I've removed some hours out of my, week committed to Synecdoche directly.
Yeah. Oh, I love the way that you teed that up, Lisa. Your ability to set a vision and lead to it doesn't mean you're leaving it. Leading,
Hmm.
not leaving. And how do you do that in less time?
Yep.
So cool. Great issue for you to tee up. Are you looking for ways to be more effective in that shorter amount of time? Like, help direct my
Yeah.
thinking to a more
I think
specific
that
area.
there's maybe some internal, making sure the perception internally from the team isn't that I've burnt out on it, so I'm making a
Mm,
career change, right? Making the other team maybe consider, "Oh, maybe I wanna also do something else," right? To feel like it's enough, right? So I think
yeah,
that there's some messaging that goes with my actions, and so I
I
wanna
think
be
you're
able
right.
to fold all these other actions back in and connect them in a way so
So,
people
talk to me
understand.
about your, I guess, willingness or support of other team members if they were to want to spend less time at Synecdoche. I know that's different for an owner, right?
Mhm.
It's like, well, they have a full time job. I don't want them. I don't want them stepping out. But different cultures have different thoughts about that. Are you open to people pursuing other things that they care about, or are you really wanting them to stay focused on the vision and not get distracted by what might be more absence by you?
No, I mean, I believe that, yeah, part-time work can still be full-time commitment to
Mm,
the effort.
yeah.
And we have had team members in the past, teach an evening class or things like that. We've just been able to roll out full family leave, so we actually have somebody leaving next semester for or next month for 3 months, right?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so
That's a big
being able
deal.
to
Yeah.
tune up that, ebb and flow of team members and making sure that in these part times, they're not also rolled off a project in a way that they're
Yeah.
contributing as a support role because they're just not available at the full capacity.
Okay. So what I hear you saying is, yeah, we'd like to support people in the things that they are interested in pursuing, but we definitely want to keep people fully engaged and know
Mhm.
that your commitment to the vision didn't lessen
Yep.
when you're interested in or pursuing other things. The vision is still strong. It's alive and well. That you're connected to it, and they feel connected to it, are engaging fully. Okay, so I think that's good. Let's talk about ways that you might be able to do that. One way is I think what's nice about the story you just told me is that there's a cohesive story there. Hey, so and so is going to take advantage of our newly created family leave thing. They're going to be gone for a few months. I've Many of you may know I started to teach this class, not because I'm disinterested in what we're doing at Synecdoche, or I feel like the vision is burning any less bright in me. It's just that I'm so passionate about being a leader in this space that I need an outlet to go lead, right? I need to share, I need to teach. And you can actually share with them how you believe your involvement in other things benefits the business. And I can think of a few. I'm sure you can as well. You're the creative master here, not me. But I think of, the I mean, there's some branding benefits. There's some employer of choice kinds of benefits from going out and talking to students who might be interested in interdisciplinary,
Hmm.
creative work, right? Like, maybe some of your future team members comes from you going out there and teaching. Maybe there's new relationships with the school where you get to go and design some new space that they have on campus, right? There's lots of ways that your activity in that new thing can come back to benefit the business. I would also point out what it does for you personally to go and do something that is fulfilling, and how that energizes you to come and be your best at Synecdoche when you are plugged in.
Mhm.
Um, I also think there's a benefit around, and this is a forcing function. I actually wanted to applaud right away when you said, like, I am doing these other activities, and there's so I have less container to work with, and I got to still pack in all the goodness in the shortened amount of time. And so
Mhm.
you become even better at prioritizing. You become even more, um, you value your time even more than you did before when you have less of it to give to Synecdoche. So I've seen this play out time and time again, where as a forcing function, if business owners will say, I'm going to be in the office this this time, which is less than I used to be,
Mhm.
and almost without fail, I hear reports back saying we actually we're actually getting the same amount done, or if not more. Like, somehow
Yeah.
the focus and the intensity, um, is driving this a similar amount of productivity, and you're getting the fulfillment, the the external benefits we talked about on top of it. So you got to. I guess there's a fine line here that a lot of business owners might be scared about. They're hearing alarms go off. Well, if I can get the same amount of work done in half the time, what happens if my team says, "Well, okay, well, sign me up for half the time, and
Right.
I'll come in and get my job done." And to that, I would almost say the better we get as business owners, as leaders in general, not just business owners, but the better we get as owners, leaders and owners, at giving clear ownership to people for their roles, right? What I mean by that is, here are the measurable results or the measurable activities that you are responsible for in exchange for the value that I give you every paycheck, right? Like, I
Mhm.
deliver this pay, you deliver this value. And the clearer we get on the value that's expected in the role that you've given them ownership of, the easier it is for them to be accountable to that, be excited about the ownership of that, and for both of you to be less focused on the number of hours being spent in a chair. And so, in
Yeah.
general, I'm not a huge fan of counting hours in the seat. I'm way
Right.
more excited about what's the value you're delivering. And if we're clear on that, then we don't have to care as much about what time you clocked in or how you clocked out or whatever. So I saw you respond to that, Lisa. I'd love to hear from you on
Oh.
what you think about that.
Architecture is definitely one of those fields that does a lot of hourly billing, and it's not part of what we do. I think it's similar. I referred to this earlier. It's like mapping out the value we create for the projects we design is how we set our fee.
Yeah.
Um, and then the margin that we're creating of profit above when they're generating more sales because it's a dope space. That's the value, right? And that's
That's the
your
value.
ROI on hiring the right architect. So I absolutely believe in that, and I think what I'm hearing too, which I like, is this there's autonomy for everybody, to design, but some as fostering designers in my studio as well, just being really intentional about communicating and connecting with the time I have. So if there
Yes.
is overflow time, it's my personal leftover time that I might have to do a couple of evening emails and things like that. But when in the office, it's like schedule time and make sure that everyone's seeing, kind of absorb my feedback, and kind of creative direction on projects, right? Because we work in a collaborative environment. So
Yeah.
everybody just being there 20 hours, but in separate schedules isn't a productive collaboration.
Good
Uh,
point. Yeah, and sometimes businesses have to create like core office hours. Like, during these periods of the day, we're all going to be together so that we have that collaboration. We have the beautiful innovation that comes from more connection points. But but we want, with creative people, to give good boundaries and then set them free to do their
yep,
thing. And you know that better than I do. So let's talk about what it looks like to be successful with these adjustments. So to me, it looks like everybody knows what the vision is. Like, your
yep,
absence doesn't make the vision any less clear. You maintain total clarity on the vision for yourself and them, and everybody knows that you're totally bought in, you're excited about it, you're still fully engaged. I think they have to see that. I think the other thing they need to see is that they're not having to wait on you more than they used to, right? So
Yep.
you talked about that. Maybe it spills over into my nighttime routine where I gotta keep the conversation moving. If I had been in the office 40 hours, that would have moved fast. And now, they're having to wait longer to get something turned around. If you're staying on top of things that other people are waiting for you on or about, then that's going to be less of an issue. Now, if you say this is great and I'm still fully in, and and you're aligning work and making it all happen, but they find themselves sort of now they're turning their attention to the clock saying, "Where's Lisa on that? I needed that 2 days ago and she still hasn't done it." If they start to feel that, then you might have a growing concern around where you're spending your time.
Yep.
But it sounds to me like you've probably worked yourself out of the day-to-day machine enough to where you're not going to have people like waiting around for you to move something forward. Is that true?
Yes. I mean, I've opted not to even like download or install certain production software because I'm not part of the production team, right?
That's
I'm part
right.
of the visual
Good
team.
for you. Yeah, keep those
Um,
boundaries.
yep. It's like, no, this will not be on my computer. But I think like that feedback loop and the affirmations for them to keep moving it forward if there's not a checkpoint for me. I think that's the thing to, continue to work on it, but be really intentional in how precious time is available in the studio in the interim.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one more thing that popped into my mind, if by you being present, they got more affirmation, use the word affirmation, like this is an important point. If they got more affirmation by your regular presence,
Hmm.
if you can figure out how to maintain that same level of recognition, affirmation on the work that they're doing, they won't feel like you're there less, right?
Yeah.
So that's an important thing. If there, we were used to Lisa commenting this much, recognizing, celebrating, coaching, feedback. This was like the level of stuff we got before. If that goes down significantly, they may start to go, wait a minute, this isn't the same thing. It used to be better.
Hmm.
So you just want to watch for anything that might feel like a takeaway,
Yep.
and anything that might give a signal that you're less interested or less invested, which I
Yep.
think we've already covered pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Good.
I think you got a good game plan. Um, I guess the last point I would make, Lisa, is don't just assume that all of that's going to be understood by everybody,
Hmm.
just because you thought about it or you had a conversation or two. Now it's time to reinforce, right? So when you have your all hands meeting or your company meeting, I err towards or lean towards the side of transparency and a lot of open communication. I get that sense from you as we're talking.
Yep.
So I would just say, hey, many of you may have heard, but in case you haven't, I'm teaching this class. You might see me less during these core hours, but I can assure you that my energy, my interest, the vision isn't burning any less brightly. This is good for our business for these reasons, and it's good for me for these reasons, and that comes back into this business this way. So you can almost like make a public contract with them about how you're going to continue to show up, and then
Yeah.
ask them to call you on it. Say, hey, if I'm not showing up the way you need me to, please bring it
Yeah.
up, because my full intention is that you're going to get everything you need from me still. You might see me fewer hours in the office, but I'm completely turned on to what we're doing and fully engaged.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
the mutual accountability, right? It's always hard for people to feel comfortable being dodging the boss to say, "Hey,
Yeah,
straighten up." But continuing to communicate is always core to say, "This is welcome. We're all trying to do better and make each other better with it." So,
that's right. And then if
it's
anybody ever does bring it up for you, like, elevate
absolutely,
that,
yeah,
like make it totally visible. Hey, everybody, I just wanted to share an example. Annie and I were talking, and she mentioned this, and I was like, oh, Annie, you're totally right. I need to make this adjustment, or thank you for that feedback. And so you just need to point out one or two examples of people engaging in that way, and people go, okay, she means it. She's,
yep,
she's open to those comments.
yep,
So that's really helpful. All right. Well, Lisa, I think this has been valuable. Thank you for sharing some great lessons learned. Thanks for bringing what I think is a fun issue that that I hope other business owners will actually think about. How could I step away more? How could I
Mhm.
build a team and set up processes in a way that allows me to step out? And then how would I lead through that so my team doesn't think I'm checking out? I
Mhm.
think that was a fabulous thing to bring up. So thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it. I'm excited to roll some more of this in to as I get started on it.
Good, good, good. Well, if people want to learn more about Synecdoche or they want to connect with you on social, how would they do that?
Yeah, our handle on almost every social media at Synecdoche Design. You can find us on Instagram's probably our most active, the
Mhm.
website, LinkedIn, all that jazz. If you want to hear more of my direct voice, uh, Lisauve. It's a good mashup of my first and last name with an underscore is my handle everywhere else. So you can connect with me personally, and I'd love to sync up with other business owners.
Very good. Well, you've been a tremendous guest. Thank you for being on the show.
Thanks, Brett. It's been great.
All right. For everybody out there listening, please like, share, comment, review, do all those things to get these episodes in front of as many seven-figure business owners as possible. We're all doing the thing, and it's sure helpful to hear how other people are doing it and the challenges that they're going with or that they're growing through. And we love to hear anything you have to share with us. So thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on another episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast.